On tonight's episode of Too Close for Podcast, I claim that there are no pointing instances in this episode. That is not correct. Upon further review of this episode, I discovered one pointing instance. Henry points at Monroe. Hello and welcome to Too Close for Podcast. We're back once again, and here we are, Season 2, at the beginning of Season 2. It's episode 201, first aired on October 13th, 1981. Wow, before you know it, we'll be talking about 1982 episodes. This one, guess who's coming to Burp? Well, I'll tell you this much, it wasn't Iris or April, because we haven't met them yet.
Alright, so the second season begins like the first season began, in the girl's apartment. Jackie is typing up a letter of some sort. Sarah enters with a banana in her hand, asking Jackie if she can practice her interviewing for her communications class. Jackie talks about how women don't get paid as much as men, while Sarah poses for the pretend camera. So Henry comes in and tells the girls that Muriel went to bed early because she's depressed about her birthday coming up because she's going to be 42. Sarah suggests they take her to the place where Monroe works. This is after Jackie suggests that they go to a strip club, which Henry has no time for. So Sarah suggests that they take her to the place where Monroe works, Jake's joint, on Pier 29. At the restaurant, Monroe brings them drinks, all of which come from the same pitcher. Did you catch that, Marty?
Oh yeah. He acts like they're different drinks, but they're really all the same.
They all had exotic names, and the last one, being Sarah's, was a Shirley Temple, which meant there was no alcohol in any of these drinks.
It was just Kool-Aid.
So Monroe gets on stage because this is a club where they not only work as the help, but they also do stage performances. That's why they're there, because Monroe works there and he's dressed as a pirate or something. So he gets up there.
The first time Monroe's on the stage.
That's right. I bet you when we get to the next time, we'll find maybe that's the same exact set.
Well, that would be funny.
Because this is one of the few times they actually leave the house. So Monroe gets on stage and calls Muriel up to sing, because she used to be in a band and she loves to sing. And then, soon two other people join. Monroe's on keyboards, and then some guy gets up there on a bass, a big stand-up bass. And then another guy gets on the drums over there. He's doing a little bit of drumming. Afterwards, Muriel feels lightheaded and passes out. So they take her home. Obviously, they take her home. They didn't go to the hospital. No, they took her home. And then there's a doctor shows up, makes a house call, which is not very realistic. What do you think?
Definitely easier than having to go back to the hospital set.
Another set. The doctor comes out of the bedroom and he tells Henry Muriel's okay. So he asks what happened, and he says you should ask her about this. So Muriel comes out and tells everyone that she's pregnant. Act 1. So later, Monroe stops by to see if Mrs. Rush is okay, and he's got a wok and a cookbook because he's going to cook some Mexican food for the girls, which makes no sense. Why'd you bring the wok, Monroe? So Henry sits him down and tells him that they're going to have a new addition to the family. Monroe gets all excited and goes to call his dad to tell him that the Rushes are going to be adopting him. And Henry says, no, I'm going to be a father. So Monroe thinks that he's having an affair, and he's disgusted at first. And then he realizes that Mrs. Rush is pregnant. And he tells Henry that he's too old and leaves to go downstairs, where Sarah is doing some homework. Jackie comes home and hears Monroe crying in the kitchen. Jackie asks why Monroe's in there crying, and he says that he's chopping onions because he's making eggplant montezuma for dinner. Jackie says she's going to be eating out tonight.
Good idea.
And the two of them are mad that their mom is pregnant Because how annoying is that, right? All the talk about not getting pregnant themselves, and now she goes out and gets pregnant? That's not good. Henry comes downstairs, and he's very excited about his virility. What's he, like 52 and skidoo or something like that? He's so excited that he's still potent. Is that the right word?
Mm-hmm.
The girls tell him that they don't want to be babysitters, but Henry is very excited by the idea of having a son. Then Monroe walks out of the kitchen with his mixing bowl, causing Henry to reconsider his words about wanting to have a son. He asks Monroe to leave the room because he wants to talk to the girls privately, and he pretty much pushes Monroe back into the kitchen. The girls ask why he wants to have a baby at this age, and what about Muriel's, their mom's photography career? Maybe she doesn't want to have a child. Henry says he wouldn't do anything to endanger his wife, and then sits down on the couch and does the second couch gag, or roll over the couch, which I always felt like happened a lot more, but I guess that's just because the opening, it happens every week. So the second real couch gag, first episode of season 1, first couch gag, first episode of season 2, second couch gag. A classic. Might have been better than the first tumble.
There is a second couch flip in episode 2 of season 1.
Oh, is that right? I'm going to have to go back. That would be the third one, then. So Monroe comes out of the kitchen with his mixing bowl, and he's all whisking away at something, and tells him that age isn't a factor if the woman is healthy. And he knows this because he had a 12-year-old hamster named Bert. So Henry has no time for this nonsense from Monroe, and he leaves. That's Act 2. So Act 3, Muriel comes home with a load of groceries that she's picked up from Chinatown.
Oh, and then Henry accuses her of having an affair, and she says, yeah, that's how I got the grocery. Oh, I'm sorry. That was a few weeks ago. But you could almost think it was the same scene.
Maybe that's how she got impregnated, right? You could all talk, because she is 2 months pregnant. We learn that she went to the doctor, and she's 2 months pregnant. And the reason that she went to Chinatown was to get kumquats, because she had a craving for kumquats. And once Henry heard that she wanted the kumquats, he's like, okay, you're pregnant. So the two of them discuss, maybe they're too old to have kids. Henry doesn't want to make that decision because he doesn't want to be a jerk, right? I don't want to tell you not to have a kid, even though I'll be 72 by the time this kid is 20. And she'll be 62. But Muriel is like, no, we have to make this decision together. And then she opens the window and hears some children playing outside. And they decide to have the baby. No abortion here. Could have been a really controversial episode.
Probably would have only been aired once. And no interlopers yet, but I just have this strong feeling that they're going to show up very, very soon. But we did have some guest stars tonight. Everybody at Jake's joint. And the doctor. Henry wore his Ohio State Buckeyes sweater for a nice chunk of the episode. Monroe was not wearing stripes, but he was wearing a very 80s type wardrobe. Objects out the window? No, but Muriel looked out the window. And
heard the children.
Yeah, the window helped them make the decision. Now, this is a really strange episode. It's a rarity. No pointing in this episode. Henry doesn't point at anybody in this episode. Very, very strange.
Kind of grabs his throat and pulls it.
Yeah, you get that maneuver. We do get one Henry Stammer. The grocery bag prop makes its triumphant return, as does the El Camino drive-by transition. I'm pretty sure we've seen that before. Muriel's singing career. This is the first time we get to hear her sing on the show. I think that only happens a couple more times, right? Is there an appearance or mention of Andrew? Well, she's pregnant with Andrew. He doesn't have his name yet. He doesn't even have a gender yet. And yes, there was a couch flip. Now, the intro was an interesting variant. It was the bridge intro with the shorter intros shots of Nancy and Lydia. Pretty weird. Mixing things up. We still haven't got Jim J. Bullock added to the intro, but that's coming pretty soon. We even had disheveled Henry hair after the couch flip. We haven't seen that in a while. As far as those strange music cues go, we had the 1 note, that happened twice, and we had the 5 note music cue. Those are like the music transition equivalent of the El Camino drive-by. There's a nice level of bizarreness happening in this episode. Or just odd things like Jake's Joint. That's the one-time set. We never go back to Jake's Joint. I'm not even sure how long Monroe was employed at Jake's Joint. Muriel performing the trick is impressive. When she passes out, she does the pulling of the...
Pull the tablecloth out.
She pulls the tablecloth out and the glasses are still standing.
The trick the guy who worked there was unable to do. Pretty good stuff, yeah.
We get the crying over onions joke again. We've heard that one in the past. We've even had the crying over too spicy chili, but not this week. Okay, this is probably the most bizarre thing of the whole episode. Monroe had a 12-year-old hamster once who got pregnant. Wow. What did we learn this week? After only 1 season, the show is undergoing changes that further remove it from its original premise. It starts here with Muriel's pregnancy, and it lasts about 2 seasons before it gets back to the original premise. They just keep adding all these extra characters. It's interesting and fun, but I like the characters we have already. Let's learn more about them. And that's what does happen eventually, but we get to spend the next 2 years, especially the rest of this year, focusing on April, who shows up next week, as well as Iris, who are both welcome interlopers to the program. It really does make it too close for comfort when there's too many cast members. So next week we'll be back with the 2nd episode of Season 2. Your guest is as good as mine. April shows up to stay for a long stretch. Cousin April.
You can hear my show on Stitcher. Stitcher is radio on demand. Download the free app today. Listen anytime, anywhere.
Create custom playlists. Rate and review my show on Stitcher. And over 4 million car dashboards.
On demand and on the go. No downloading, no syncing, no wasted memory. Stream your favorite podcasts. Don't have Stitcher? Download it free today at Stitcher.com or in the App Store.